I love helping people. I mean, that's what I'm all about.
All right. Welcome back to the Wild Business Growth Podcast presented by Hippo Direct. This is your place to hear from a new entrepreneur or innovator every single Wednesday morning who's turning wild ideas into wild growth. I'm your host, Max Brandstetter, digital marketing dude at Hippo Direct, and you can email me at max@hippodirect.com for help saving time with your podcast. This is episode number 62, and today's guest is Madalyn Sklar. She's the leading Twitter marketing expert and hosts the famous #TwitterSmarter Twitter chat. It's produced over 9 billion impressions to date, and of course she does host the Twitter Smarter podcast and Communities That Convert podcast as well. She's ranked the #1 social media power influencer in Houston, and she's been an entrepreneur in digital marketing since 1996. You'll hear all about her journey, how you can use Twitter to grow your brand, and even some stories from her rock star background. So for those about to rock, we salute you. Enjoy the show. Alrighty, we are here with the woman who knows more about Twitter than Jack Dorsey. Madalyn Sklar, how are you doing today?
Hey, Max, I love that. That was great. That's a cool introduction. I'm doing really wonderful. I appreciate you having me on your podcast today. Thanks for the invite.
Of course. Thank you so much for coming on. Yeah, that line was definitely approved by Jack. I'm sure he signed off on it. But you've seriously been around on Twitter and been amazing on Twitter and inspiring so many people on Twitter and beyond for so many years. It's just an honor to talk to you. And we go back to the point, when I joined our family business, Hippo Direct, and started doing all of our social media stuff, we connected pretty early on. And I remember, I think it was on one of your Twitter chats, you sent a video reply tweet to the Hippo Direct account and talked about how powerful video replies are. And you were walking your dog named Max. So obviously the name Max and your video reply stuck with me to this day. But that little video reply still stuck with me to this day. And here we are.
That is so awesome. I'm so glad you mentioned that, Max, because I've had other people say the exact same thing to me. They said, I remember that first time you sent me a tweet that was a video and it was personalized and is something that stays with people. And it's just a great example of a simple strategy that really works on social media, especially Twitter. It's just something little as making a video on your phone, saying hi to someone. Who does that? Not very many people, but it's just little things like that go such a long way. And I've made it my mission to let people know these things because I want to see them do better on these social media platforms.
Yeah, it's so true. And you're doing some incredible work there. So we're going to get into a lot of these tools and tactics. But before we get into that, I want to dive into something. You hear the term rock star a lot in the social media space. In your case, you actually are a rock star. You play in a band, you play guitar. So before you kind of focus more on the social media world, you were in this rock star world. Can you take us through that time of your life for a little bit?
Oh, sure thing. I grew up playing guitar. I never was like a total musician, rock star. I worked with a lot of really cool rocker musicians. But yeah, I grew up playing guitar. I started when I was 11, and it was just a really fun hobby. As I got older, I thought, I want to be a rock star when I grow up. And very quickly, when I grew up, I'm like, okay, I don't know about that. But I always had this feeling I would somehow be connected to the music business. And then we fast forward to the 90s when internet became a thing, the World Wide Web. We're talking early days of that. And I thought, this could be a really cool way to connect with other musicians, have conversations. So I actually started an online music community for female musicians. I was looking for other women like myself that played music and were looking for a place to connect with others. And I launched that in January of 1996. It was a long time ago.
Oh, wow.
And I spent over 20 years just being really immersed in the music business and getting to know and work with a lot of amazing musicians, not a lot of big names. It was mostly independent artists, like those ones that should be famous, but they're not, because there's just, not enough room for, everyone to be a rock star. But I did a lot of cool things in the business, and it was a lot of fun. But I was always a techie and always an early adopter to anything tech. And so very quickly, I got known in the music business as a digital marketer. And so people looked to me for help and advice. So over time, that really became my specialty because it was just something I was so into and enjoyed. So yeah, it's like it kind of had this really interesting evolution, how it started with the music business. I also was one of the first web designers in Houston, where I live. Also in 1996, launched my own web design company back then.
Wow. A magical year for you.
It really was. And it was just really interesting looking back all those years to see where it brought me to, which is, and I'm not surprised that I'm immersed in social media and I help people and I niche down because niching is so important. I could teach people about any aspect of social media. I can teach you how to use any of the platforms, but I got known for Twitter, and I love that because Twitter is my favorite. And so people know me as a Twitter marketing expert, and I will accept that title. I'll take it. I like that.
Yeah, it suits you well. So a rock star slash Twitter queen slash you name it, etc. But so there's the music side of your interest. There's the tech side of your interest. On that music side, what do you think drew you into the music world in the first place?
Well, I just have always had a love for music. As a little kid, I had older brothers, and one of them was a drummer. So I was really surrounded by a lot of music growing up. So it was just something that was just so ingrained in me that I would be this music person. But it always, as far as playing music, it always just felt like a hobby. But looking back, it's like it doesn't surprise me when I look at the path that it brought me to working with musicians because it was the love for music,
Hmm.
but also I love helping people. I mean, that's what I'm all about, whatever capacity that is. So it was really cool that I was helping people in the music business. And then over time it was, let me help them with technical things like social media and how to better use their iPhone and their computers and things like that. So yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm just one of those go with the flow types. I didn't sit here and have these big business plans like, here's the business I'm going to do, here's the amount of money I'm investing. It was, these things happen very organically. And I'm really proud of that because it really shows you that you can just go with the flow, follow your passion, do the things you want to be doing, and turn it into a business. And I did that multiple times: web design business, music business, and social media.
Wow. And it's funny thinking back to you played music as a kid, but there's no chance when you were that young. I mean, Twitter wasn't even around yet. There was no
Right.
chance that you were saying, I'm going to grow up. I'm going to be the Twitter chat queen. I'm going to do this. Like, it's just
Right.
funny. But as you mentioned, it's such an organic transition to the next thing that you're focused on. So your story is just amazing. So you mentioned you were an early adopter into Twitter and a lot of the tech things and in the internet, the famous internet. So which probably 99% of the people can't imagine living without now. So what do you think allowed you to be such an early adopter in these things?
That's a good question. I think it just always interests me. Techie things just interest me. So whenever there'd be something new, I'm one of those with my ear to the ground. So when something new, I hear about it and I jump on it. For whatever reason, that's just how I'm wired. So if I see there's like years back when social media was becoming a new thing, if there was some new platform, like when Vine was new or Pinterest was new, I'd
Uh,
be jumping on it immediately to see like, what is this about? I mean, usually the day I read about it when it was brand new, I'd go jump on it that day, and I'm one of those where I'll be up late at night. No, you all go out and have fun. I'm going to stay home and play with this new little, because to me, that's the shiny toy, right? So I
right.
just always liked that. And I would learn how to use it right away and then turn around and start sharing information. And that really grabbed people. So it just seemed like it was a natural fit for me to just really I mean, I wasn't trying to. I wasn't like, subscribe to the best blogs that are the first to share information. It just was this weird, natural, organic way. I just think that I would jump to it faster than most people. So then I get quickly seen as the early adopter.
And you've totally excelled at that. So there's so many different platforms that come and go. I mean, you mentioned Vine, which now I have a lot of nostalgia. By the way, they say they're working on Vine too, but no one's seen it yet. So who knows? But so many platforms come and go. I mean, rest in peace, Meerkat. And Twitter is what you've really decided to put your foot in the ground and really, really focus on, and somewhere that you could really, and you did become a thought leader in the space. So why Twitter? What is it about Twitter that keeps you coming back?
Well, I joined Twitter back in March of 2008, and I remember that year, the big buzz at South by Southwest Interactive that year was Twitter. So I'm like, let me go see what the fuss is all about. And I just instantly fell in love with it because of the fact that it was 140 characters. It's all about brevity, and I like short to the point, no fluff. That's how I always write. I've been a
Yeah.
blogger since 2000 when Blogger came out. Blogger.net, I think, was the address. And before most people even understood like what that word, like what is a blog? That's a weird word. I was already doing that, but I wrote the way I talked and I kept it short and concise. And Twitter just seemed like a natural fit for that. I was like, this is for me because I can keep my thoughts short, to the point, and move on. And so it was just something I fell in love with. And here we are all these years later, and I'm so glad it was one of those that stuck around, that didn't go away. They had their ups and downs, and there were a few times I was getting nervous about, like, is anybody going to care that I'm the Twitter gal? People call me Twitter gal. I didn't know if that would, because a lot of people are like, Madalyn, you should go pick a different one to be an expert in because Twitter's going to be gone. They're not going to be around much longer. But I just had a lot of faith in it and just felt like this was the best one for me. This is the one I put, my stake, my claim, put the flag in the ground. And I'm just really thrilled that it just keeps growing.
It does, yeah, and it feels. I mean, you've seen it, waves of up and down as far as people getting all excited about and joining, and then
Yes.
people leaving, and now I feel like more people are coming back to it, and it's really had some staying power. There's an aspect of Twitter that ties to business, and it can really be beneficial from growing your business and growing your brand. So, what is your favorite way that you can use Twitter to grow your business?
Oh gosh, there's so many ways. Just a real simple and easy one is participating in Twitter chats. That is a real easy way for people to get noticed and use it to grow their business. It's a great way for people to get to know, like, and trust you, which is what you have to have if you are going to do business and get people to work with you or buy from you. So a Twitter chat, for those that don't know what that is just a simple conversation on Twitter using a hashtag. And I'll use my Twitter Smarter as an example. I
Mhm.
host it every Thursday at 1 o'clock Eastern. So basically, I shout out off the rooftops and say, hey, everyone, go to this Twitter Smarter hashtag on Twitter every Thursday at 1 o'clock Eastern for a conversation. So as long as you put the hashtag in, you'll find us, and then you can connect with us and be part of the conversation as long as you put the hashtag in. That's always the one thing that new people forget to do. And then you're tweeting and you're talking to us, but we don't know you're talking to us because
Mm,
we're just hyper focused on 1 hour of tweets with the hashtag, and that's it. And it's a great way to connect with like-minded people. When I come on the chat each week, we're all there to talk about Twitter, and some people are experts at it and they share their 2 cents, and some people are there to learn, and some people are there to just network. I try to do all of the above. I try to give help, connect with other people, learn things. Is a great way to do that. Is very simple and easy to do, and so it's just making that time commitment. So I always recommend searching out some really good Twitter chats that are relevant to your business and or your hobbies, your interests, and try to make time once or twice a week to be there, be present, and participate. And at minimum, just say hi so people know you're there, because it's real easy to be a lurker and not say anything. And if you don't tweet anything out, we don't know you're even there. And there's probably 10 times the number of people on these chats each week. It's just that, for people, because I've had plenty of people say, oh, I love your chat. I'm like, oh, I've never seen you on the chat before.
yeah,
Oh,
they're
I just
hiding.
watch. So it's real easy to do that. And that's okay. I don't want anyone to ever feel pressured. But if you want to be active in the conversation, and that's where you get the most benefit, to just come on there and just start talking to people. And it's a really fun way to do it. Twitter has made this simple, easy, and fun. And so that would definitely be my number one, is go on Twitter chats.
So how do you make the most of a Twitter chat? What advice do you have for somebody who is kind of on the fence about talking, but wants to get in the conversation, but doesn't really know what to say? How do you make the most of that?
Well, first of all, before you even jump on a Twitter chat, it's always best to go to your Twitter profile and do a quick audit. Make sure it looks great. Make sure you've got a bio that makes sense. So when people see you on the chat, most times they're going to go click on your profile and look at your bio before they respond. And they're going to make a quick decision. Is this someone that I'm going to like, somebody I'm going to want to talk to, someone I can connect with? And so you want a really good profile picture, a good header image, and a good bio, really, and a link to your .com. And so doing that first before you jump onto Twitter chats will pay off better in the end, because people are going to check you out. And then you just go on a chat. And if you don't have anything to contribute, like if the questions are being asked and you don't feel like you know enough to share an answer, just ask a question on top of a question, or look at someone's response and ask a question that's related and just start a conversation, or reply to something that's being talked about. But the bottom line is, be a part of the conversation. So you don't have to be the expert, you don't have to have the knowledge, but just be part of the conversation. Have some, even if it's just great answer. I do that plenty of times where it's like, wow, that was a great answer. The chat's moving fast. I don't have time to have a big conversation with every single person. But if I see a really good tweet, I try to make a point to hit the like button, hit reply, and real quickly say, hey, great response. And then put that hashtag in so everybody sees that I responded. And that will get you more eyeballs on you and your profile.
Well, you stole my idea because I was planning to go to your next Twitter chat and just tell everyone they had a great answer. So thanks there. But it's amazing. I mean, I participated in your Twitter Smarter chats before, and it is amazing. I mean, there's just such a cool vibe about it. There's so much energy, and it really is. It feels like the peak of what Twitter has to offer, because it's like networking, or like a cocktail hour for everybody who's interested in the same sort of topic that you are. So it's a really, really amazing thing. How about on the hosting side of it? Because you can probably run these Twitter chats blindfolded by this point. What advice do you have for anybody that wants to start a Twitter chat of their own?
Well, starting one is very easy to do. It's just a matter of picking a hashtag, picking a day and time, and saying, okay, everybody, this is what I'm doing, and being consistent with it. Like, you don't just do it once and like, okay, not that many people showed up, I'm not doing this again. It's like, just keep at it, keep doing it, make it a regular thing. It builds over time. You're not going to have a bunch of people from the start, unless you're very popular. I mean, you're popular, you know a lot of people. But I always recommend, when you do start a chat, let everybody know. Don't be afraid to invite your friends and your colleagues. They want to come and support you. And the very first time when I had launched Twitter Smarter, I had been hosting other chats prior to that. But when I launched Twitter Smarter, I made sure I gave myself enough time. Like, I gave myself probably 3 or 4 weeks before I launched it so I could spend time promoting it. And I just made sure everybody who knew me knew that I was starting it. They knew when it was. And I encouraged them to come and check it out and let me know what they think. And the turnout wasn't too bad, but it is going to build over time. And so here we are with Twitter Smarter. I started in 2015. So 4 years later, it's really grown into a very large, very fast moving chat. But it takes a lot of work, takes time invested in promoting it, because you can't just tweet out a few times, hey, I'm going to have a chat, come join me, and then do nothing else. You got to really work. And I'll promote it on other social media platforms. I'm always promoting it on Facebook and Instagram and anywhere else that I can get people aware of it. My podcast, my Twitter Smarter podcast is so interesting. You think, oh, well, certainly my podcast and my Twitter chat is all the same audience, because I use the hashtag Twitter Smarter for both, and I'm talking about Twitter marketing in both. But I have plenty of people that come on the Twitter chat that don't realize I have a podcast of the same name, and vice versa. People on the podcast that are like, I didn't know you had a Twitter chat. And it's like, yeah, I've been doing it for 4 years. I launched them both a month apart in 2015. So you never can over promote. There are going to be people that may know about something you do, but they don't know about the 20 other things you do. So you want to just keep marketing. People look at me and say, gosh, you're a marketing machine. Well, I learned very early on digital marketing, it can't be a once and done thing. You can't just put out one little bit of content and not come back to it and not spread it far and wide. So it's really important to try to blanket without going overboard. There's that fine line, where you don't want to cross and be a pest. So you got to use good judgment, but I feel that people under promote themselves is the bottom line. So don't be afraid to promote and let people know what you have going on. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on that.
Those are phenomenal 2 cents. Well, it's funny you mentioned the piece about people finding you on one platform and not knowing about the other one, or vice versa, or discovering the other one via the other one. That's a mouthful. But anyway, we had Jim Harold on the podcast previously, and he's known as the paranormal podcast guy. He started a business around podcasting, and he's been podcasting about paranormal and the supernatural, believe it or not, since 2005. Anyway, he's got 40 million downloads. I mean, like, incredible numbers and incredible community. But he has a Facebook group, and he has more people discover his show now from discovering his Facebook group first than the other way around. And it's just incredible. He's got this podcasting empire, and still people are finding it via other channels first. So it's just, you never know what's going to point people to other things. And you're seeing that between your Twitter chats and your podcast.
Absolutely. So my advice is always from day one when it comes to digital marketing is cast a wide net, because you really just don't know where someone's going to come from, and it will be from multiple places. So just always have that mindset of casting the wide net, drawing them in.
Absolutely. Okay, perfect. You're killing the fishing analogies. So anyway, while we're talking about Twitter, what else? So in addition to Twitter chats, what else is there about Twitter that you love and is a little bit different than other platforms?
Well, it's just the connection with people, having that communication, and something as simple as having a personalized video like what we talked about earlier, where I sent you a video, and is something that people don't really think about doing on Twitter. We're so quick to do video like that on our phones with personal messages through Instagram, especially Instagram stories.
Mm-hmm.
But on Twitter, something as simple as making a little video, talking to people, even doing it as a DM. You can actually DM a video as well. It is so powerful, and it just really brings people together. That there's so much power in video. And so, I've been on this mission to get people to do video replies, like to utilize video when they're connecting with people on Twitter. And every time someone gets turned on to that, they're blown away at like how much they got out of it. Because it's so easy to just reply to a tweet and type something back and maybe send a GIF or an emoji. But when you have that personal message, it just takes it to a whole new level. And it's something you could do with any social media platform, actually. Like, it's not limited just to Twitter. But I have just found in my experience that Twitter can be extremely powerful when you're using it on Twitter. I did a few weeks ago, we were literally just starting the Twitter Smarter chat, and I was thinking, I'm going to make a quick little video, like real quick, just welcoming everybody. Just a real quick, hey, everybody, thank you to coming to Twitter Smarter, welcome. And the beauty is with Twitter is that when you put up a video, it can stay in there there's an area in Twitter called Media Studio.
Oh, yeah.
And Media Studio is really awesome. I have found the only way you can access Media Studio is you either have to be like a big time partner with Twitter, which most of us aren't, or if you've done ads, like if you have the ads platform turned on. And a little hint, you can turn on the ads platform at Twitter without paying for ads. They require a credit card on file. And as long as you're okay, I've never had to worry. I mean, they're not going to charge if you're not actively running ads. I've had my credit card on file for many years, and the only time it's charged is if I hit the button to actually run an ad. But most times I have that so I can access Media Studio, which is inside there. And with Media Studio, the beauty is when I did that video a few weeks ago, and I want to do it again next week, I can just go right into Media Studio, go in the pull-down menu, click on videos. It's going to show me all my videos, and I can easily spot that one. And it's going to give me all the stats, all the analytics associated with that. It's going to show me all the times I tweeted it, and I can just click on it and start a new tweet and schedule it right in there. And that is really powerful because people love these personalized videos. I could record a new one each week, but it'll take a little extra effort, a little bit of time. So why not just repurpose? I'm really on this repurposing mission right now where I'm taking a lot of my content and just finding cool and unique ways of getting it out there. And this is a great example of repurposing. I put it out there once. I made it purposely generic, just welcoming people to the chat. It's just me hanging out with my little Twitter Smarter sign that's in my office, pointing to it and just saying, welcome. And people really identify. They look and they go, she's just a regular person like me, and I feel like I can connect with her. She's real. And it's literally like 5 or 6 seconds long. It's very short. And I can just keep reusing it each week to make people feel good about coming on the chat because they saw this little personal message from me. And I can just go into Media Studio and really within seconds, with a couple of clicks, have it ready to be scheduled out to go out right when the chat starts. So just little things like this can really go a really, really long way in your marketing on Twitter.
And I thought you were about to reveal your credit card information. I had my pen and notepad out and everything. I was like, okay, no.
Yep.
That was expert level tips there. And when you think about Twitter as a whole, like what sort of mindset should a small business owner or someone in the marketing field, what sort of mindset should they have when they open Twitter on their phone, or if they're using it on desktop, when they're going and they're seeking to meet connections on there? Like, how should they be thinking? How should they be approaching Twitter?
Well, you want to be in the mindset of that Twitter is a two-way street. Too many people have that one-way street mentality where I'm going to go on there and I'm just going to push out my content and maybe hit like and retweet a few times for other people's content, but that's it. And that's not a good approach. You want to get on there and be conversational with people. So you go on there, you tweet out some information so people get an idea of who you are and what you do. And it's okay to promote yourself. You don't want to overly promote, but it's okay to do that. But really get on there and just look at tweets, do some listening. We call it social listening, where you just get on there. And like I use Twitter lists to help me curate some very specific feeds. I customize some feeds. So I'll go in my Hootsuite, I'll look at my different feeds through the Twitter list and look at conversations so I can find places to jump in and be part of the conversation. So that I'm treating this as a two-way street. People know they're going to get content from me, but I want to also be on that receiving end. I want to, talk to people so that I'm going to have conversations keep going with me, so that when I log into Twitter and I first go to my notifications, there's going to be a lot in there to look at because I'm just very active with talking to people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what makes Twitter, that's what makes it a great experience. When you can open up your notifications and you just see all these people that want to talk to you because you're out there talking to them.
Yeah, I love that analogy. It's the best. It's the most two-way streetist. That's a new term. The most two-way streetist of any of the platforms, because you really can make amazing connections on there and have real conversations. And you mentioned Twitter lists as well, which are a phenomenal tool. Do you have any advice for Twitter lists? I mean, I've learned to love them as well in terms of both organizing into groups the people that may be of interest from the podcasting and the business side of things. But also, I have a lot of sports contacts in a sports Twitter list that I like to check as just a pure sports thread from time to time. So what do you like to use Twitter lists for?
Oh gosh, I have so many different kinds of Twitter lists. It would probably make your head spin. I have so many of them. But I have plenty that are public. So that means any of you guys that are listening could go see it. And I have plenty that are private for my eyes only. And there are reasons to have it one way or the other. And public would be something I'm curating that I think other people would find value in. So it's not just for me, it's for everyone. An example of this, back when Twitter lists was a fairly new thing, I had them all private. I was just like, well, I don't need to share this. This is just for me. And I had this one called social media. And I was just putting together like all the top social media people I was seeing on Twitter that I wanted to be able to easily get on there and connect with. So it was just a private, no frills, just called social media. Then a few years later, I thought, you know what? I've really put together an amazing list. I had over 100 people and it was really cool and I got a lot of benefit. And I thought, there's no reason to make this private. Like it doesn't need to, it's one thing if it was competitors or just some real big reason to be for my eyes only. So I changed it to public, and that's the cool thing with Twitter lists. At any time, you can change it from one to the other. You have a lot of flexibility. So I changed that and I changed the title. I changed it from social media to social media smarties. And the reason why I did that is because once it's public, if I add someone to it, I see some cool new social media person I don't know and I add them to the list, they're going to get a notification from me on Twitter that says, Madalyn Sklar added you to her social media smarties list. Now, who's not going to get excited about being added to a list called social media smarties
Exactly. You
versus
read my
just
mind.
social media? I'm added to so many Twitter lists. They have really boring names. And I'm like, it's hard to get excited. It's like I'm thrilled someone added me to their own list. But when it's a boring name, it's hard to get excited. But whenever it's something really creative or unique, you can't help but get excited and take notice. So not only is this a great way to use lists for your benefit, but it's also a nice little mini strategy of one way to get seen by, and not to get on Twitter and go add people to a specific list just so they'll notice you, because that's really not the
Right.
purpose of it. But that's just like the benefit you get if you have a good creative name that will make people take notice. So yeah, and I have so many different kinds. I have a list. So I have my Twitter Smarter Chat, I have my Twitter Smarter Podcast. So those are two separate Twitter lists that are public. So after someone's been a guest, I'll add them to it. So being that these have both been going on for 4 years, I've got quite a few people in each one. So I've basically curated a great list that people might find value. If they come to the Twitter Smarter Chat each week, they might be really interested in that list. And the beauty is when it's public, anyone can subscribe to it. So someone might look at that and go, oh, I would love to have a list of all the guests Madalyn's had on the Twitter Smarter Chat. So they can come over to mine, hit the subscribe button. And this is all so easy to do. You can go to anyone's Twitter profile, and on their profile, you can get to their list. So you'll see all their public lists.
They're public,
You
yeah.
can subscribe to any of them that's out there. Now, the beauty is that person did all the heavy lifting for you. So if you come to my Twitter chat and you love it and you're like, wow, it'd be great to follow this list, I did the work. So you just hit the button to subscribe, and you're sitting pretty over there with that because you didn't have to do anything. But the drawback is you can't edit it. So you can't go in and say, I like all these people Madalyn had, but I don't like this person, so I want to remove them. You don't get to do that. Only the owner of the list can do the edits. But there's still a lot of value in that. You can really find some great Twitter lists that are already curated and put together that you can use, and they'll get added to your list. So your Twitter list will always be the ones you created first, and below that will be all the ones you subscribe to. And it's really easy to go in and subscribe, unsubscribe, create your own, make it public, make it private. There's a lot of flexibility. I even wrote an article all about Twitter lists that's over on my website, madalynsklar.com/Twitter lists.
I'm starting to think you know a thing or two about Twitter. That might just be me, but
A little.
a little bit.
Yeah, I'm just passionate about it. I
Yeah.
find so much value in it, and I just can't help but get excited and want to share that with others because I want people to see the value. A lot of people think, oh, how hard is Twitter? 140 characters. Now it's 280 characters. How hard is that? It is a very simple platform. But what I have found with Twitter, and what motivates me to keep training and teaching and putting out courses and doing things, is that Twitter is the one platform where truly you don't know what you don't know. And I can't tell you how many times, Max, I've showed, like Media Studio, great example. Social Media Examiner had me come do a presentation to their society, which is their paid membership. And this was a couple years ago. And I did mine on Media Studio. I blew their minds. They were all like, I had no idea this existed. And the guy who hosted it, he was like, Madalyn, I really don't use Twitter that much, but you know what? I'm going to so use Twitter more now because I didn't know I could do this feature. And you're showing me all these great benefits. With Media Studio, you could put a call to action in a video tweet. You can put metadata. I mean, you can't do that any other way unless you have Media Studio. And so I just find that I learn these little things. They work for me. So I just keep using these strategies. And when I share these things with other people, their mind is blown. So it really inspires me to keep learning and keep sharing because I want people to see the power of Twitter. And that is so much more than just tweeting these short tweets, that you can do so much more. And when people say, well, even 280 characters is not enough for me, well, it's like, welcome to video. Video will allow you to go way beyond your 280 characters in a tweet. So there's always something you can be doing on Twitter that'll get you to these goals that you have of things you want to do with your marketing. So I, I find that it works better on Twitter than some of the other. I love all the platforms out there, but
Yeah.
Twitter seems to be the one where you really can do so much more than you ever thought you could.
Yeah. And you're championing Twitter and you are Twittering smarter, Twitter smartering, either one.
Yep, for sure.
Yourself. So you're the champion there. So you finally decide to start a podcast. Congrats! You've never been more excited. But wait a sec. You quickly find out this is way more of a time commitment than you initially thought. You're going to need someone that has you covered behind the scenes. That's where I come in. Email me at max@hippodirect.com and let's get wild. Let's switch it up a little bit. Let's get to a segment on inspiration and creativity. So, what do you do to stay creative?
Wow, that's a really interesting question.
Thank you.
I'm always looking to see what other people are doing, and it's never to copy. But I always tell people, like, you know, have a Twitter list of people that inspire you and keep tabs on them to see what are they doing? What do you like about what they're doing? What do you dislike? It'll kind of help guide you. And then you can get takeaways from that. This will show you how nerdy I am. I remember the moment I found out Twitter video was available, when it was turned on, when Twitter turned it on, so we could all do video now if we wanted to from our phones. I thought that was the coolest thing. I couldn't wait to like, okay, I'm going to make a video real quick and tweet it out. I was so excited. And the only person I saw at that time that was real into Twitter video when it was brand new was Gary Vaynerchuk. And I've always been inspired from him. I learned so much from watching him, and we're so much alike. I feel like I'm the female version of him. But watching him do video replies really inspired me. So as I was coming up with ways of doing it and teaching it, it's just seeing what other people are doing to just kind of get interesting ideas that can help you have your own version of that or something similar, not copying, but just, giving you a fuller picture, because there are a lot of people out there doing really creative things on Twitter that can really inspire you. I've seen so many interesting things. It's like, okay, I need to have my own take of something like this. Like,
Yeah.
there's nothing out there that's been invented that like, oh, no, you can't do it too. I mean, I run a very large popular Twitter chat, but I didn't invent Twitter chats. I saw a Twitter chat, I participated, and I was like, I'm going to do Twitter chats, but I'm doing my own spin of Twitter chats. And I've been hosting weekly Twitter chats for like 8 years now, but I certainly didn't invent it. None of us are like, inventing the wheel, but we're just coming up with ways to reinvent it to fit our marketing.
Yeah. And it's funny because it kind of, there's a parallel there back to the music industry, how so many artists have gotten big and are now sampling older songs, or they go back to the styles that were popular 30, 40 years ago.
Right.
So the same sort of thing, a different scale, obviously, but same sort of thing happens with social media. So yeah, I totally can get behind that, getting inspiration from other people. And Twitter is such an amazing tool to curate all of the creative marketing and everything in that world out there. So it's such an amazing tool for that. How about hobbies? So in addition to everything you do from the music standpoint, and of course your dog Max, what do you like to do with your free time?
It's funny, and you'll probably laugh. So my hobbies have always been things that actually help my business. And I'm not trying to do that, but like, I love video editing. I really do. It's just something I've always found to be fun and interesting. And hey, it benefits me for my business because now I can take the videos instead of hiring someone. I get a lot of satisfaction out of doing it myself. I find that a way to be a creative outlet for myself. Same thing with Photoshop. Now, I'll be the first to admit I only know how to use maybe 10% of Photoshop because that is really geared for super ultra creative graphic designer type people, which I am not.
That's their official title. Yeah.
But I know enough to use it for the things I want to do. And it may be surprising to some people, but every week for the Twitter Smarter Chat, I'm the one doing all the graphics. I already have the template because I had a graphic designer create it for me years ago. But I'm the one that's going in and putting in all the details with the person's picture and updating the date and the title. I like doing that. It's a little geeky, but I like that. And it allows me to have a little creativity in it. So it's interesting how when I look back of like what are my hobbies, it's always things that help my business. And I promise I'm not trying to do that, but at the same time, I do think is kind of cool, and I'm not going to stop doing that because, hey, who doesn't want to have a hobby that can also help their business? When you're an entrepreneur and you're self-employed, you need all the help you can get.
It's so true. It's so funny. We hear so many amazing entrepreneurs on the show talk about their hobbies, and probably 99.9% of the time, well, nine repeated percent of the time, it's something that has nothing to do with their business. And you are very fortunate, I think, that you enjoy these things that can take up a lot of time, but you really geek out about them, and they also have an impact on your business as well. So I think there's no shame in having passion in those areas, especially for an entrepreneur.
Exactly. And I was even editing my own podcast for quite a while, but that
Hey, I
is
know
just
that.
too time consuming. It's very time consuming. I love doing it,
Yes.
but I didn't want to do it where it was too time consuming and keeping me from meeting my deadline. So I had to have, and I've had a variety of, I started with an editor, but then I wanted to learn how to do it because just like video editing, I find the editing process interesting and creative. And so I learned how to do the audio editing as well. And yeah, there were times where I would just take it over, but it's also nice if my editor can't do it, I could always do it because I do know how. I like doing it, but I don't want to do it week after week because it's just too time consuming. But I don't know. It's just interesting when I say it. I don't really think about these things, but when I talk about it, like in this interview, it is
Mhm.
kind of interesting how it's played out like that, where my little hobbies help my business.
Yeah, and now I can do the editing with eyes closed. I know the podcaster's journey there. How about resources? So, what are your favorite sites or could be books? What comes to mind as far as resources that you really enjoy taking in and consuming new information?
Oh, well, for social media, there's been like two at the top of my list that are great websites filled with lots of information. And I'm always sharing tweets from them in my feed is Social Media Examiner and Social Media Today. I think they have the best blogs for all things social media. So they're always at the top of my list. And I've read all of Gary Vaynerchuk's books. I think he's very inspiring. I
Oh, of
also like
course.
books from people that are more of like motivators, but more like lifestyle business, like Lewis Howes. I'm a huge fan of his.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
taken his School of Greatness program. I've read all of his books. I'm a big fan of Marie Forleo. She has a brand new book that just came out called
Yeah.
Everything's Figure Outable. So I just got my hands on that. I love Pat Flynn. I've been like the biggest Pat Flynn fan since I remember when he first started. I'm like, this guy is cool. And I was already an entrepreneur for a while, but anytime you can learn from people who, are doing it and sharing what they're learning with their audience is just gold. And I've learned so much from him over the years. So I've always found his blog, his podcast, everything he does to be exceptional. So those are really my top ones.
Yeah. So Pat Flynn, looked up to Pat Flynn for a long time now, but I finally met him in person this year at Podcast Movement in Orlando. And I was at it timed up with his Superfans book launch. So I was at his book release party, and the amount, so he literally, he hid behind the stage, then he got up on stage and he talked for probably 2.5 hours, but half or maybe more than half of that time was just him taking questions from anybody. And probably 2/3 of the questions, they weren't even questions. It was just people praising him and telling him thank you for how impactful he's been and how he's made an impact on their life and how they've completely grown or transformed their business just through his mentoring, even if it's not in person, even if it's just over his podcast. So it's, there's so many people that are in the same boat as you, learn so much from him, that it's just amazing when people make an impact like that.
Absolutely. I mean, his information is so invaluable to anyone who is self-employed, doing business. So much value comes out from people like that. And I seem to gravitate to people like the Pat Flynn's and the Gary Vaynerchuk's that are sharing tons of free valuable information where they basically are your virtual mentor.
Right.
And Pat Flynn was my virtual mentor forever. And I've met him too. I speak at Social Media Marketing World every year, surprisingly about Twitter, of course, Twitter marketing. And
You
next year will be my
know.
yeah. and next year will be my fifth year in a row to do more
Wow.
Twitter marketing.
Oh,
I'm
congrats.
definitely their go-to Twitter gal over there. And
Yeah,
I've
well
gotten to meet
deserved.
Pat, it was really cool, seeing him there and like introducing myself, letting him know I was a big fan. And I actually, my very first guest on the Twitter Smarter podcast in 2015 was Pat Flynn. It was a great example of don't be afraid to ask, because the worst thing that will happen is a no. And you just got to tell yourself it's okay. And it's okay to get the no. But if you don't ask, you won't get the yes. And so I was just putting together the podcast and still figuring out the format. And I knew I wanted to be short format, especially because, Twitter was 140 characters back then. I thought, let's keep it short format, just like the platform. And I thought to myself, why don't I ask these big names? Because they didn't know who I was yet. I was pretty unknown. I was still doing well in the music business, and everybody knew me over there for social media and digital marketing. But I was trying to do this transition to get more widely known, like the Maury Smiths and the Kim Garst and the Mark Schaefers in social media. And so that year, they didn't know me yet. They did eventually, but not yet. But I thought, why don't I ask and say, hey, I'm doing this new podcast, just looking for your Twitter tips. Can I just get First, I was saying 5 to 10 minutes. I was asking different people and I was getting yeses.
Yeah.
But Pat Flynn, I'm like, I think I'm just going to ask him because who would say no to 5 minutes, right? So I asked him, I tweeted him and I said, just 5 minutes. And he said, yes. I couldn't believe it. I was so excited.
Oh,
and he
that's
was
amazing.
so wonderful and so gracious. I had done a few podcasts prior to that, but this felt like a bigger deal one. And I thought, okay, I can't screw this up. And, especially having Pat Flynn, I'm sure I'll get a lot of listeners. I got to make this. And I was so nervous, which is not like me, but I was thinking, I got Pat Flynn on Skype. Oh my God. And he was so kind. He saw I was nervous. He's like, take a deep breath. He was like my little coach for a few minutes there, and great guy. So, but yeah, I mean, just don't be afraid to ask for what you want, because you just never know. And I had this great podcast because I asked people, even though they didn't know who I was okay if they said no, but I wanted to at least try to get a yes. And my first year of that podcast, all I did was ask my guests, what are your best Twitter tips? I still do that today. 4 years later, my podcast is, what are your best Twitter tips? Because everyone's going to have an interesting conversation out of that. And they've all been really cool hearing what these guests have to say.
When you don't ask at all, you're ensuring a no. So
that's right.
Totally get behind that as well. That's a hell of a first guess. So it's you started and continued it with just some incredible content with your podcast there. All right, so let's get to a fan favorite segment here called the Wild Business Shout Out of the Week.
The Wild Business Shout Out of the Week.
Wild Business Shout Out of the Week. So this is where we talk about a recent campaign that caught our attention. And there's something that combines football and battleship, believe it or not. Madalyn, can you take everybody through that one?
Yeah, I saw this really cool campaign. I wish I'd seen it live on Twitter unfolding, but I caught it the next day and I thought it was so interesting. It was 2 NFL Twitter accounts, one for Jacksonville Jaguars and one was the Atlanta Falcons. And I guess it was like halftime. And so the Twitter account from the Jaguars asked the Falcons, hey, let's play Battleship during the halftime. And they put out some rules and they used emojis. And it's a threaded tweet. So I can give you that link if you want to put it in the show notes.
Of
but
course.
It is the coolest thing to just go through it and look at their tweets back and forth. They played a real game of Battleship, but they did it virtually through Twitter. I thought that was the neatest thing. And it shows you the power of trying something interesting and new and using some creativity and just have fun. And this did really well, and it grabbed a lot of attention. I heard people talk about it for like that whole week. That's all people talked about was, did you see the Battleship game between the 2 NFL teams during halftime? So I thought it was interesting, very creative.
Yeah, you really have to think about it for a second. I mean, 2 NFL teams playing Battleship, that in itself is so unique. It's kind of like, what the hell? And then on Twitter, it's just, it's such a unique, crazy thing that it definitely turned some heads and some Twitter fingers. So how did you hear about that in the first place?
I was on Twitter the next morning and there was some reference that somebody made to it. And then I saw the link to the thread. And I'm like looking at this going, no way. And I'm like, I wonder how many people even know what Battleship is, the game. It's a very old school game. I grew up with that game. I was like, I knew what it was, but I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I just thought it was so neat. And that's another great thing about Twitter is that there's so much great conversation happening over there that you can really connect with great people and just see so many cool things. And I was so grateful that I saw this because this is such a great example of using Twitter to be ultra creative.
It is. And I think you see that now that there's so many brands on Twitter and there's so many huge brands, and it can be food chain, like fast food chains, like Wendy's comes to mind, for example, and Burger
Yes.
King. And then obviously through this example, it could be NFL teams, and there's a lot in the NBA as well. But the brands and these giant franchises can get into it, into the social interaction on Twitter as well. And some of them are just so good at it. Like Wendy's and Moon Pie actually come to mind. They both have created such distinct personalities for themselves through Twitter. And they're both brands that have been around forever. It's not like they just, started and kind of were born in the Twitter native age. So it's amazing and it's so entertaining. And so I'm excited to see what other NFL teams and what other sports franchises will come with, because I could see that becoming a thing of teams doing something like that at halftime and just
Totally.
capturing attention that way.
I have a feeling we're going to see that this year because I think what these two teams did was show that you could have fun with the other team, the opponent, during halftime. When think about it, if you're just hanging out on Twitter watching your favorite team through their Twitter feed. I do that plenty of times. I live in Houston. We're the Houston Texans. I might be working when the game's on. While I'm in Twitter, I just keep checking their Twitter account and get the updates. And that would have been so cool. Like, oh, it's halftime. It'd be really cool if this did become a thing, because then people are going to be like, what are they going to do at halftime? Like, they're going to make sure they're there at halftime because they're not going to want to miss whatever fun game they play. So there's a lot you could do with that.
It's a Twitter halftime show. It's the natural evolution.
That, you know what? That might become a big hashtag.
Yeah. All right. Let's make it happen.
You're next
Twitter smarter. Let's do it. All right. So let's get to a segment called The Unusual. So think about pet peeves, quirks, weird talents, which I'm sure are things you talk about every Twitter chat. So pet peeves, what's your biggest pet peeve?
Well, definitely I can name one with a Twitter chat that drives me crazy is when people reply to the question, but they don't put which question it is. So like, a very common way you do a Twitter chat is Q1, it's question one. And if you're going to answer it, you do A1. So we all know that's answer number one to question number one, and so on. Question two would be A2, and so on and so on. And I totally understand when someone's new to a Twitter chat and they're learning the ropes, no problem. But it drives me crazy when a guest and maybe they haven't been on too many chats. I don't know. By now, I would think they have been on a bunch, but maybe not. But I give instructions. And even at the beginning of the chat, we have a little welcoming and some instructions and remind people, answer question one with A1 and question two with A2. And it drives me nuts when guests will get on there and not do that, and you have no idea which question they're answering. And we put out a recap each week. So we do a recap as a Twitter moment where we go and take all the tweet questions and all the tweet answers from the guests, plus we'll take some random ones from participants and make a nice little recap with a Twitter moment. And it can be really difficult to like wade through all that and figure out, well, which one is the answer, which one does that go to? And so that's a little bit of a pet peeve.
I totally get that. And this is probably the solution you're looking for. I think you need a sponsorship from A1 steak sauce for that A1.
Great idea. I love that.
On there. How about quirks? So is there something about your personality that's a little bit quirky that maybe your family or friends, someone calls you out for, but you love it? It's who you are.
I guess that I'm just okay with being a geeky nerd. I'm proud of that.
I love an everyday nerd.
I love that I get it right. I mean, I really get excited talking about Twitter. I mean, I'm sure there are some Twitter experts out there that don't get as excited like I do, but I love talking about it. I'm passionate about it. I think first and foremost because I'm passionate about it. And because I'm passionate about it, I want to share the information. I think it just makes me come off. Just like when I said earlier that, this is a little nerdy, but I remember where I was the second I found out Twitter video was turned on and we could use it. Like, when it comes to Twitter things, I'm usually like, I remember where I was and what I was doing when that happened. So that's a little nerdy, but I would say that's definitely quirky for sure.
Quirky, geeky, nerdy. It's a hell of a combo there. But it's true. I think it's a really important personality trait of yours is that, as you mentioned at the start, you're someone who loves helping people. And the fact that you are so passionate about these things, I think, is what allows you to so naturally help so many people with it.
Absolutely. And, just something I love. I love helping people. I mean, that's the bottom line for me. So it just works well, I guess.
It does. And then weird talents. So I'm not going to let you say guitar because we've already mentioned that. But outside of that, what would you say is something that you're really, really good at, but it doesn't necessarily have an impact on your business? It could be something totally random.
Oh gosh, that's an interesting question. I don't know
Thank
off
you.
the top of my head. I'm not really sure of a good answer
I
for
could give you
that.
some examples
Sure.
of
Sure.
previous guests. So sometimes it's people like remembering song lyrics really well, or sometimes it's people that are like we had Nicole Holland on recently, and she talked about how she's amazing at hanging paintings up like perfectly straight, but without a level or anything.
Oh, I can't do that. And I love her too. She's awesome, but I can't do that at all. I
Yeah.
suck at that. I think it's just that I'm just so naturally able to do techie things. Like an example, okay, this would probably be a weird talent. It's like the iPhone.
Okay.
I don't
Heard
sit
of it.
here and do iPhone training. I don't sit here to learn I just figure it out and know it. And I could sit down with a random iPhone user and probably show them 10 things they didn't know they could do with the iPhone. And
We
I'm,
need
and
to
I'm
sit
telling
down
you,
together.
I'm not reading a how-to manual. I'm not it just, I guess because I use it so much and I'm like, oh, when you're a business owner, your smartphone is like the most important thing you have. And because I'm
Yeah.
using it so much, I've learned how to do here's an example, and this is pretty quirky and weird. A lot of people don't realize on their Android or iPhone that you can set up the shortcuts with your keyboard. So for instance, if I'm running my Twitter Smarter chat and I'm on my phone doing it, I can just hit pound TW. I have it set this way. You have to go set it up one time, but I have it set so that if I just put pound TW, it's going to automatically put Twitter Smarter in there.
Oh, that's
And
amazing.
little things like that. And so it's great for hashtags. If you participate in Twitter chats regularly, that will save you so much work when you're on your phone. And so, I'm constantly, even after the Twitter chat, Twitter Smarter is my branded hashtag. It's not just my chat, it's my podcast. I have an online training course called Twitter Smarter Masterclass. I've truly branded that hashtag as part of my business. So needless to say, I use that hashtag constantly in my tweets. And so I just have made it super easy for myself when I'm on my phone. I can just, it's real easy. You just go there's a shortcut setting that you get to that can, for keyboard shortcuts. It's pretty simple to do. It's something you can just Google, how to do keyboard shortcut on an Android or on an iPhone. Very simple to do, but pays off hugely.
Well, I said at the start that you know more about Twitter than Jack Dorsey, and clearly you know more about iPhones than Tim Cook and that Steve Jobs did. So
Probably. Yeah. I'll
wow,
take that.
that's incredible. Yeah, add it to your resume. So only a little bit of time left here. Would love to wrap up with some rapid fire Q&A. You ready for it?
Okay. Sure.
All right, let's get wild. Let's rock. What is your favorite band of all time?
Oh, Rush. I know I don't look like I'd be a
Ooh,
Rush
nice.
fan. I'm like the biggest Rush fan. Yes.
Oh,
Rush. My
now I
final
have
answer.
YYZ in my head.
Oh,
Perfect.
yeah.
How about on guitar? What is your favorite song to play?
Oh, that's easy. Pink Floyd, Wish You Were Here. I love that song on guitar.
No hesitation, too. I love it. How
No, because it's
about
something, because I used to play for a really long time. Then I stopped for a long, and I go back and forth, and I kind of restarted again this year. And it's just something I can just pick up the guitar and just start playing it. So it's almost the first thing I play every time I just want to strum on guitar. I start playing the beginning part to Pink Floyd, Wish You Were Here.
wow, just another brick on the wall. What is your if you had to eat the same food over and over again for the rest of your life, it had to be the same food. What would it be?
Ice cream. That's easy.
What flavor?
Chocolate. Anything chocolate.
Okay. All right. That was a bonus question. Got to keep you on your toes there. What would be your favorite app that's not Twitter?
Oh gosh, that's hard because there's so many, and I'm just all about apps.
All right. You have to pick one, though. That's the
All right, if I can only pick one, probably Evernote, because I always view Evernote as like the file cabinet for your brain on the phone, like the phone version of your brain. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. All right. Yeah. That's comforting that our brain is just in our hand. Okay. And then last one. Other than Twitter Smarter, what is your favorite hashtag of all time?
Oh gosh. Wow, there's so many hashtags, and I don't know if I really have any
It
favorite
could
because I
be
do love
hashtag
Twitter
oh gosh
Smarter.
wow.
I got it. I had to think about this one. The other ones I answered very quickly. This one I had to think for a minute. So my most popular hashtag you'll see me tweet Twitter Smarter. The second one most popular you'll see me do is pound Rockstar, or you rock. Like those
Yeah.
were probably tied. They're probably tied because I do those two a lot. I love to say
Rockstar, you rock.
pound you rock because I'll be typing like, hey, so and so, thank you so much for coming on the Twitter Smarter chat today. Love seeing you there. Pound you rock. Like I do that a lot, or Rockstar. So yeah.
Well, Madalyn, you are a hashtag rockstar and hashtag you
Thank
rock.
you.
Thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing the amazing amount. This was just a little glimpse into everything you know about Twitter and how powerful of a tool it can be to help grow your business. But thank you so much for coming on. And before you sign off, what is the best place for people to reach you and your Twitter chat and podcast and anything you want to shout out?
Yeah, well, my website's a great place to get everything all in one place. So definitely MadalynSklar.com, get everything you need to know about me, about my chats, podcasts, everything. And then Twitter, because that's my number one place. So
What?
at Madalyn Sklar on Twitter. And having an unusual name, you pretty much put in Madalyn Sklar anywhere and you will find me. Because apparently I'm the only one in the world with that name.
Apparently, hashtag only name in the world. But
for sure the US, because there's a website where you put in your first name and last name. It'll tell you how many people have your first name, how many people have your last name, and how many people have your full name.
Do you
And
know
it
what
says
website
I'm
it
the
is?
only one. I'll have to go find it. I was just on it the other day because I was telling someone about it, and it's just so cool. So I'll go dig it out.
All right. Yeah, we'll have to include in the show notes. And then last thing, final thoughts. It can be a quote. It can be a line. It can be a guitar solo, whatever you want. Send us off here.
Oh gosh. One of my favorite quotes, and it did not originate from Pat Flynn, but he says this a lot. What got you here won't get you there. I love that.
And you got to try a little tenderness, as the saying goes. Thank you so much, the one and only Madalyn Sklar, for coming on the podcast. And thank you, wild listeners, for tuning in to another episode. For more wild stories like this one, make sure to subscribe to this podcast on your favorite app and leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. You can also dive into the hippo watering holes of business growth resources at hippodirect.com/blog and hippodirect.com/newsletter. That newsletter is the Hippo Digest, and it is your place for wild marketing ideas every single week. And of course, come say hey on your favorite social media platforms at the handles Hippo Direct and Max Brandstetter. Until next time, let your business run wild.
Bring on the bongos!